Today, I received something incredibly small, yet unbelievably powerful. A single queen ant. At first glance, she doesn't look like much. Just one tiny insect. Alone. Fragile. Silent. But in reality, she is an empire waiting to be born. Because in this video, this queen will build an entire colony from nothing. And not just any colony. A colony that will face brutal challenges, deadly predators, and real-world survival tests that I've created myself. But right now, she has absolutely nothing. No workers, no protection, no food supply, just her. And a handful of eggs. The beginning of life. In the world of ants, everything starts like this. The queen must take care of her eggs completely alone. She protects them, cleans them, and waits. Because those tiny eggs are her future army. Days passed, and then something incredible happened. The first egg hatched. A worker ant was born. This moment changes everything, because now the queen is no longer alone. Meet the trap jaw ants. These are no ordinary ants. They are called trap jaw ants, and they are absolutely terrifying. Instead of small jaws like normal ants, they have massive mandibles, like spring-loaded weapons. These jaws can snap shut at incredible speeds, fast enough to catch prey instantly, or even launch themselves into the air. And unlike most ant species, their workers are almost the same size as the queen, which makes them even more dangerous. The role of workers. In an ant colony, workers have only one purpose: serve the queen. They do everything. They clean her, feed her, protect her, take care of the eggs. They are her army, her servants, her lifeline. And now, the colony had officially begun. The first feeding attempt. But I wanted this colony to grow faster, and to do that, they needed food. Since the colony was still tiny, I decided to start simple. Just one drop of honey. Carefully, I slid the honey into their test tube. Almost instantly, the worker approached it. She moved slowly, cautiously. This was something completely unknown. She inspected it for a moment, and then something interesting happened. She turned around and went back to the queen. Ant communication. You see, ants don't talk like we do. They communicate using their antennae. The worker gently touched the queen's antenna and released pheromones, a chemical message. Translation? I found something. The queen responded, gave approval, and the worker returned to the honey. A surprising twist. But instead of eating it, she did something completely unexpected. She knocked it over. The honey spilled and slowly soaked into the sand. She didn't eat a single drop. At first, it made no sense. Why waste food? But there was a reason, a very important one. The hidden truth. When a colony is this small, the queen feeds the workers by using her own body reserves. Yes, literally, she converts her stored energy into liquid food and feeds it directly to the workers, which means they didn't need my honey at all. Not yet. Waiting for growth. So I waited. And slowly, the colony grew. One worker became two. Two became four. And now, things were getting interesting. Division of roles. With more workers, clear roles started to form. Some ants stayed close to the queen at all times, acting as bodyguards. Others focused on the eggs, cleaning, organizing, protecting them, and a few guarded the entrance. The colony was becoming organized, efficient, alive. Time for real food. Now that the colony had grown, it was time for a real test. No more honey. This time, live prey. So, let me introduce you to their first target. Flightless fruit flies. Tiny, weak, and honestly, kind of pathetic. They can't even fly. The first hunt begins. I carefully opened the tube and released one fly inside. For a few seconds, nothing happened. The fly hid quietly, but not for long. One worker noticed it. She turned, locked on, opened her jaws, and snapped. Missed. The fly dodged. But now, every ant was aware. The hunt had begun. The kill. The workers surrounded the fly, waiting, watching, calculating. Then, one ant stepped forward. Perfect angle, perfect timing. Snap. The jaws closed. This time, it didn't miss. The fly was dead. Food for the future. The ants carried the body back, not to eat immediately, but to store it. Because in a colony, nothing is wasted, everything is planned, everything is survival. As the colony grew, the tiny test tube became too cramped. With 12 workers crawling over each other, there was barely room to move. Some ants couldn't even walk properly. It was clear. They needed a new home. But I didn't just want to buy a standard ant farm. No, that would be boring. I wanted something special, something custom-built, something terrifyingly beautiful. So I grabbed a brick. Yes, a brick. And I started chiseling, carving their new world. Using a hammer and chisel, I carefully carved tiny tunnels and chambers, each little crevice designed for a specific purpose. Food storage, egg chambers, trash disposal, rest areas for the queen. This is how real ant colonies work in nature. They don't just live anywhere. They create organized, efficient spaces for survival. After hours of carving, I painted the brick a deep blue. Then I covered it with a clear acrylic sheet. Now, I could observe them without disturbing them. And I added one final detail, a sponge connected to a tube, so I could drip water and maintain perfect humidity. Ants thrive in moisture. Without it, they suffer. And now, the nest was ready. Exploration time. The first worker was brave. She stepped into the tube that led to the new nest. Slowly, cautiously, exploring every corner, she wandered through tiny crevices, checked every chamber, and finally returned to the queen. Ants do this often. Workers explore first, then report back to the queen. It's like reconnaissance for an entire empire, making the new nest irresistible. To encourage them to move, I added sugar water to the chambers, replaced the clear acrylic with a red acrylic sheet to mimic darkness, and strategically positioned a bright light outside the tube to guide them inside. Within minutes, the first worker ventured in, then another, and another. Finally, they all entered the new nest. Even the queen followed, escorted by her loyal workers. The colony had officially moved in. The first outworld, desert testing ground. The colony was thriving, but I had bigger plans. I wanted them to hunt outside their nest. I built the first outworld. Orange sand covering the floor, rocks, and a cactus for obstacles, and a liquid called fluon on the walls so ants couldn't escape. This created a miniature desert, perfect for testing trapjaw skills. The cricket challenge. It wasn't just about exploring, it was about survival. So I introduced a cricket. Now, trapjaw ants have sensory hairs in their jaws. When prey approaches, they can snap with lightning speed. The first encounter, the ant lunged, missed, snap again, missed. The cricket ran into the nest. Panic spread through the colony. Every worker had to act. The colony attack. The ants coordinated. They surrounded the cricket, targeted its legs, snapped, slammed, repeated. And finally, victory. The cricket stopped moving. The colony stored it as future food. The queen was safe. The workers had proven their efficiency, growth, and challenges. Over the next 97 days, more workers hatched, roles became defined, food storage systems refined, and even first deaths occurred. Founding workers have short lives. The colony thrived, but something unexpected was coming. The escape, day 100. I returned, expecting to see the colony bustling with life. Instead, almost every ant was gone. I searched. The desert outworld, empty. The grassy outworld, empty. Where were they? Then I saw it, a tiny gap under the red acrylic sheet. All the workers had escaped overnight, except one, the queen, alone, exactly where she started. On day 1, it was both shocking and terrifying, resetting the colony. She had done this once before, and she could do it again. Carefully, I placed her into a new test tube. The day counter reset, and the cycle of survival, growth, and conquest was about to begin again. A new beginning. The queen was alone again, but she was stronger now. She remembered the first colony. She knew how to survive. She had instincts older than time itself, and slowly, one by one, new workers began to hatch. The cycle of life started again. Tiny legs stretching, antennae waving, the first exploratory steps of a new colony. The first tasks. With just a handful of workers, some guarded the queen, some cared for eggs, others patrolled the entrance. The patterns were familiar, but refined. This time, the colony would grow faster, smarter, stronger. Food against all odds. I offered them honey once more. But this time, the workers were wiser. They didn't waste a drop. They fed the queen and slowly stored the rest. It was subtle, strategic, like soldiers rationing supplies before a battle. The new outworld, grasslands. I decided to create a second, larger outworld. Bright green, fake grass bark pieces for obstacles. Small open areas for hunting practice. The ants explored carefully, testing every corner. Some were curious, some cautious. Some even clashed briefly with each other over territory. But that was natural. In the wild, every ant learns boundaries fast. Big prey test. The cricket returns. Now it was time to test their hunting skills again. This time, a bigger challenge. I introduced a full-sized cricket into the grassy outworld. The trapjaw ants immediately detected the intruder. Ants lunged, snapped, missed. The cricket dodged, leapt, attempted to escape. The workers coordinated silently using instinct and pheromone communication. Precision strikes. One ant became the leader, calculating the perfect strike. She waited, targeted the cricket's leg, snap. The strike landed perfectly. Others joined in, ensuring the cricket could no longer threaten the queen. Finally, the cricket was subdued. The colony stored it carefully for later meals. It was brutal, but survival demanded efficiency. Colony growth accelerates. Over the next 40 days, workers doubled in number, food storage chambers were organized. Egg care became faster and more precise. The queen stayed protected, almost pampered by her workers. The colony was becoming a tiny ecosystem of its own. The escape strikes again. Day 80, I returned, only to find a familiar sight. Almost all the ants had disappeared again. A single worker remained, patrolling the nest. The queen was gone. I had underestimated their ingenuity. These trapjaw ants were small, but not simple. They had found a way out, a path I didn't even notice. I decided it was time for the ultimate challenge, a multi-terrain hunting ground. Desert section with sand and rocks, grassland section with bark and greenery, forest section with small twigs and soil patches. The purpose? To test the colony's intelligence, agility, and teamwork in every environment. Exploration and strategy. The queen stayed in the nest, protected by workers. The ants were free to explore, hunt, and survive. They divided themselves by skill. Scouts explored and mapped terrain. Hunters focused on prey guardians, patrolled for intruders. This was more than survival. It was civilization in miniature. The biggest prey yet. I introduced a larger insect, almost double the size of the ants. This time, hunting wasn't easy. Ants tried coordinated attacks. Some failed, got thrown aside. Others adapted, hitting the prey from angles I never expected. Finally, after minutes of strategic attacks, the colony brought the prey down. Victory wasn't easy, but it was theirs. Colony maturity. By day 100 of the second cycle, the colony had over 15 workers. The queen remained safe and productive. Food storage was organized. The nest and outworlds were thriving. Every ant had a role. Every worker was efficient. The colony had truly become a self-sustaining ecosystem. The lesson from a single queen to a thriving, intelligent colony. I realized something incredible. These tiny insects aren't just survivors. They are planners, strategists, and warriors. Every strike, every decision, every movement is calculated. Nothing is random, and it all begins with a single queen. Ending teaser. Buffers here for part 5. In the final part, we will see the colony fully mature, face its most dangerous challenges yet, and discover what happens when instinct, strategy, and survival collide in a world they've never truly known. It's been over 100 days. The queen is no longer alone. She has built a thriving empire from nothing. The colony now has 20-plus workers, organized food storage chambers, carefully maintained egg chambers, outworlds for hunting, training, and survival. They are no longer just ants. They are a miniature army. Every movement is precise. Every strike is calculated. Every ant knows its role. The colony is alive, almost like a single organism. Each ant a vital organ in this living machine. The final outworld test. I had one last challenge planned, a multi-threat hunting ground. This arena was unlike anything they had faced. Desert sands with hidden traps, grasslands with tall obstacles and hiding spots, forest sections with twigs, stones, and soil for ambushes. Moving prey of different sizes, from tiny flies to crickets twice their size. This was the ultimate test. Would their instincts and teamwork hold up under pressure? The hunt intensifies. As the first prey appeared, the ants reacted instantly. Scouts darted forward, mapping the terrain. Hunters lined up strategic strikes. Guardians positioned themselves near the queen. One ant lunged at a large cricket, snapping its jaws with pinpoint precision. The cricket struggled, jumped, tried to escape, but the colony didn't panic. They coordinated. Each worker knew exactly what to do. One blocked the escape route, another distracted the prey. The strongest delivered the final crushing blow. In minutes, the prey was subdued. The queen remained untouched. The colony had proven itself. Colony strategy and intelligence. Watching them was mesmerizing. They weren't just instinctual. They were strategic. They divided tasks: food retrieval, exploration, guarding egg care, and each worker adapted to failure. If one ant missed, another corrected it. If a threat appeared, they responded as a unit. It was like watching a living, breathing supercomputer in miniature. The queen's dominion. With the colony thriving, the queen could finally focus solely on reproduction. Eggs multiplied, workers grew in number and skill. The empire she started alone had become unstoppable. And yet, one lesson remained clear. Survival is never guaranteed. Even a single mistake, one weak link, one misstep, could jeopardize everything. The lesson of the ants. From a single queen to a fully organized, thriving colony, we witnessed evolution in action. Adaptation, strategy, teamwork, instinct, survival. All built on the foundation of a single determined ant. And when the colony faced danger, they didn't panic. They worked together. They strategized. They conquered. This is not just nature. This is precision, efficiency, and survival at its finest. The grand finale. The queen rests in her chamber, surrounded by her workers. The food stores are full. The eggs are safe. The colony is thriving in its custom-built empire. The world outside is unpredictable. The threats are real, but inside, the colony is perfect. And as we leave them, we realize something profound. From the tiniest, most fragile beginnings, life finds a way. And sometimes, that life is extraordinary. Ending teaser for viewers. If you've ever wondered how a single ant can build an empire, how teamwork and instinct combine in nature, or how tiny creatures survive against massive odds, this story is the answer. From a single queen to a thriving colony, the journey is brutal, beautiful, and fascinating. And now, the colony is ready for whatever comes next.